Hello, I'm Josh from the band 21 Pilots, and this is our most requested live Ask Anything chat. Our new song is called Chlorine, and I wanted to thank Romeo and iHeartRadio for having us on the show tonight. All right, first question is from Diana from Moscow, Russia. What are your favorite places in New York City? Kind of random. You're from Russia and wanted to know what my favorite spots in New York are, but works for me. I like Brooklyn. I think it's a chill spot with really cool places, and I kind of prefer to be out of the chaos of the city. But if you are going for the first time, then Manhattan is pretty sweet. Central Park is a beautiful place. There's a lot of cool stuff in New York, but I like to hang in Brooklyn. Jill from Skeneatles, New York. If you could create any flavor Oreo, what flavor would it be? That's a great question. If I were to create any flavor of anything, it would be Oreo flavored. So I think Oreo flavored Oreo is kind of the best. So I'd go Oreo flavor. Mackenzie from Jonesboro, Tennessee says, where did you work before you started doing music? That's also a good question. Even while we were doing music, Tyler and I both had kind of full-time jobs that we would do, and we would go play shows on the weekend. I had so many jobs after high school. I worked valet parking. I worked for a moving company. I worked at a restaurant. I worked at a pizza company. I worked at Guitar Center for like 5 years, and I worked at Starbucks. I think the last job that I had, the last actual job that I had that I was able to quit to do music was Starbucks. And being able to quit that job and go do music full time was a pretty awesome feeling. But I liked all those jobs. I like working and having something to do. Kate from Iona, Michigan says, what is something that you could talk for hours about? I think it would probably be our show. I think that Tyler and I have learned and discovered so much about putting on a show from a performing standpoint, but also just so much going into musicianship and what kind of elements do we want in a backing track or percussion track. If you take the album, what we've recorded, what do we take out and what do we leave in for the tracks to really sound good with the live drums next to it, or other elements. I feel like there's a lot that we could talk about, and then also just memories from tour. I think there's so many times where Tyler and I just sit down and reminisce older shows or when we got started and traveling around in an SUV with all of our gear crammed in the back, or a van and trailer. And you create a lot of memories on the road and playing shows and meeting people, interactions with opening bands. So it's really fun to kind of just talk about that, what we've learned and what we've discovered and experiences we've been through. Mariana from Brazil asks, is come to Brazil a question? Well, there's no question mark after it. So I would say no, it's not a question. It sounds like a statement. It sounds like somebody telling us what to do. And we're not really fond of that. But in all seriousness, we love Brazil and we love South America. And anytime we come there, it's some of the most amazing shows. And it's really hard logistically to get there. And I know that that's why a lot of bands aren't able to make it there very often. we really want to we really want to get down to South America to kind of do some of our own string of shows, but it does take a lot of coordination and logistics. So we love you, and I think that we'll be there hopefully soon, but we just need to get some planning going. Emily from Chicago says, if you could be a star or planet, which one would you choose and why? So I think you meant to say choose. I think I'd probably be a star. I think it would probably be cooler to be like Edward Norton than Jupiter. It seems like he probably has a cooler life, and it's probably a lot easier to breathe. But, on one hand, it could be cool to be a planet. But then, you don't get like the perks of being able to be in movies. I guess you could be in, sci-fi movies or something, but you're not going to have a lot of lines to learn. So I think being a star would be pretty cool. I think, you probably get free coffee sometimes. So, yeah, like Edward Norton would be pretty sweet. Angelina from Astana, Kazakhstan says, Josh, do you have a question for Tyler? Yes, I do. Georgia from Brisbane, Australia says, how many drumsticks and how many bottles of black paint do you bring with you on tour? I don't bring any paint. I don't think Tyler really brings any paint anymore either. But drumsticks, go through quite a few. I don't know the exact number, but ever since we started touring, for some reason, I like throwing drumsticks into the crowd, and it doesn't always end up great. A lot of times in the older days, I would toss a drumstick out, and it would clink on the floor because there weren't enough people in the room to even catch it. So I would go through random drumsticks, but then a lot of times after the show, I could just go back out onto the floor and pick them up and put them back into my collection. But it's a good amount. Sometimes they break, sometimes I throw them, and sometimes it just gets whittled down to almost a sharp weapon from hitting it so much. So yeah, it's a good amount. I would say I go through maybe like 3 or 4 sticks a night, and we've probably played a little over 100 shows since Trench came out, so 300 sticks. Mallory from Henderson, Nebraska says, where did you play your first gig as 21 Pilots? First time I played with Tyler was in Athens, Ohio. It's about an hour and a half from Columbus, where we're from, and it was a college kid's backyard, some kind of frat party, and we made it there. We set up all our gear in the backyard, and by midday, everyone at this house was hammered drunk. So we set up our merch table, set up our instruments, and probably around 3 p.m., there was a kid so drunk that he tried to pee on our merch table. So we had to get him away, and then kind of keep an eye on the merch the rest of the day. A couple hours later, he tried to pee on my drum set. So we had to keep a closer eye on our stuff. And as we waited throughout the day, we were excited to play, and I think Tyler and I were looking forward to kind of playing our first show together. And time comes around, we set up all of our stuff on wood pallets, which was the stage, and we played one song, and the cops came and shut it down. There was noise complaints, and we weren't able to play anymore. So the first time we ever played together, we got one song in, and packed up the rest of our gear and went home. So I hope the kid that tried to pee on our stuff enjoyed that one song, and I'll never forget it. Thanks again for watching our exclusive Ask Anything chat with Romeo and Most Requested Live. Our new song is Chlorine, and we'll see you out on the road.